Hello and welcome back to Action Network's coverage of the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup presented by Bet365. Today, we're going to take a look at all four quarterfinal matches, give out our favorite picks as to who we think is going to advance. And at the end, we're going to see if our pre-tournament picks have wavered. BJ Cunningham and Anna Whitty joining me. BJ, my co-host from Wonder Goal, Anna Whitty, NWSL broadcaster and U.S. women's national team expert. The U.S. are out, though. So now we're going pretty much to all of Europe to figure out who's going to win this tournament. Plus, Japan and Colombia holding it down for the rest of the world. Before we get started, remember this show is presented by Bet365, the world's favorite sportsbook brand. Sign up with promo code ACTION to get Bet365's exclusive sign-up offer in New Jersey, Colorado, Ohio, Virginia, and Iowa. Bet $1 and get $200 in bet credits. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Anna, Spain has been a really impressive team in this tournament. The Dutch have kind of grinded their way through it. They, looked okay, but not at their best against South Africa. They got the point against the United States. Where do you come down on this matchup and whether or not the Dutch have any chance of pulling the small upset against Spain, who is now the second favorite in the betting odds to win this entire tournament behind England?
Yeah, Spain is my favorite team to watch and how crafty they are on and off the ball. They are so smart with their tactical changes throughout this tournament. For the Netherlands, they don't have Danielle Vanderdonk, so she will not be available due to yellow card accumulation. I think she's been a huge piece for this team centrally, helping kind of form their identity. So because of that and how Spain has scored 13 goals in 4 games so far, only conceded 5 goals, I think they have the upper hand here. They're talented. They're good at making changes on the fly. They use the depth of their bench. There's going to be fresh legs for the Spain side. And Bonmati has had one heck of a tournament, had a brace in her last match. I think this Spain side is starting to click at the right time, and they continue to progress higher and higher. I think Netherlands is an opponent that they can easily beat. I think it's a 3-1, 4-1 win for Spain.
So Anna's very high on the Spanish. I am too. I think the Dutch, they're a team that want to have possession of the ball. They need to have the ball. We saw that against the United States where they try to do a ton of defensive possession. They're very good technically, but no Van de Donk in the center of the park is a huge loss. And this attack just continues to kind of manufacture goals out of not a lot of big name production in the front lines. And, the 2 goals they scored against South Africa, the first one comes off of kind of an error with like a deflected header. And they ultimately only finished with about 1.2 XG in that match. Like, it wasn't an impressive showing. And I thought South Africa looked really dangerous in transition, but the problem for me with the Dutch here is they're just not going to be able to have as much possession because Spain is the best possession team in the world. They're so good at pressing, winning the ball back, keeping the ball, making you run and defend without it. I think that's going to be a major problem for the Dutch as they go up against the Spanish side. So I'm in agreement that Spain's going to win this. BJ, I know, are you going to make it 3 for 3?
Oh yeah, I'm making it 3 for 3. Spain, outside of that match against Japan, they've been incredibly impressive, especially that match against Switzerland. I mean, here's the problem, and you hit the nail on the head, is that the Netherlands isn't really a transitional type of team. They need to build out of the back, and that's not something you really can do against Spain. Another thing about the Netherlands is they lead this tournament in high turnovers, and they have one of the best passes per defensive action marks. That's also a very dangerous game to play against the best build-up team in the world. So without Van de Donk in the middle of the pitch, it's very, very difficult for me to see how the Netherlands is going to attack them. I mean, they really weren't that impressive against the United States. They obviously scored from a long-range effort, but after that goal went in, they created next to nothing against the United States. So for Spain, who, again, outside of the match against Japan, is creating well over 3 expected goals per match, I think they get through here with pretty relative ease.
We've hinted and discussed Japan. BJ, me and you both bet on Norway as an underdog as a potential long shot pick in the last round. We were both wrong. Japan, after we were both on Japan in the group stage, where do we come down on this team? Because remember, they came into the tournament with the 10th best odds to win. They were 33-1. Not many people were picking them or even thinking that they really were more than just like an advance to the round of 16, maybe quarterfinals team coming into this tournament. Now they're the 3rd favorite. Now they're a team that everybody's saying, oh, of course, it's always been Japan. And there's, citing the history of how good they've been in the past, but nobody was saying that before the tournament. So are we crazy here? I mean, Japan is now a solid favorite against Sweden to advance. Sweden has been up and down. They had an impressive group stage, maybe a little fortunate against the U.S. Where do you come down on Japan, Sweden? And are we going to go against Japan again and be wrong? Or are we going to pick the Japanese this time?
I think I might have to go against them and be wrong again because of what Japan has been doing. Obviously, they dominated Zambia and Costa Rica, who turned out to be lesser competition comparatively to Spain and the rest of the teams in this World Cup. Obviously, they had the impressive win against Spain, where they scored 4 goals off their 5 shots on target. And then against Norway, they went down early and they were very impressive coming back, but they still scored 3 goals off of just 1 expected. So they have just been finishing at an absolutely ridiculous rate. And the odds for this match are basically the same as what the United States was against Sweden. So are we really trying to say now that Japan is essentially just as good as the United States? Now, obviously, there's the factor of Sweden coming off 120 minutes, a very hard-fought match against the United States, very emotional match on penalties. And Sweden, they show that they can play a couple blended different styles, but they really didn't create many high-quality chances against the United States over that 120 minutes. So, based on the odds, I would definitely take Sweden to advance. But again, betting against this Japanese team has not been profitable so far this World Cup. So if I had to bet it, I would take Sweden, to advance. But again, maybe Japan is just way better than their opening odds in the World Cup showed out.
Yeah, Sweden plus 130 to advance. That's roughly 44-ish%. So the market thinks Japan is a solid but not overwhelming favorite to advance here. Anna, curious to get your thoughts. You didn't agree with us with Norway. You thought Japan was going to roll. You were right there. Japan, they're really impressive. Can they get stopped? And is Sweden the team to do it?
BJ, I totally understand where you're coming from and betting on Sweden and the fact that they performed pretty well in this World Cup. However, in the game against the United States, the U.S. completely outperformed Sweden. They dominated in the attack. And the difference between the United States and Japan is Japan can finish goals. They can be efficient in the final third, and Sweden's going to struggle with Japan's buildup. And the only thing that Sweden is really good at in the attack is their set pieces. And that's something that you'll have to keep your eye out for in Sweden to make sure that maybe they'll get a few opportunities off that. But I see Japan dominating the possession. They've been really effective in their buildup. And that's something that Sweden's going to have to make sure their defensive structure is there. But can they do that all 90 minutes against a Japanese team who's fit and they're well disciplined? So I see you have to bet against the odds here. Japan is definitely going to come out on top. I even see Japan in the final game. They've been just so efficient when it comes to their game plan, adapting to what they need to do in order to get results. You look back at the game against Spain, they were able to put up 4 goals in what was the possession 23%. It was counterattacks. That wasn't their style of play. So Japan is comfortable being uncomfortable, and that's why I see them getting the result against Sweden.
Yeah, I'm going to hold my nose and bet the Swedes here, but I have some concerns as well. I think the biggest thing for me was the Sweden trying to play out from the back against the United States and trying to, avoid high turnovers. And the U.S. was able to pretty comfortably turn them over and keep possession. And Japan, if they're able to do that, is a much more efficient team. Like you said, they're going to take advantage of those opportunities where the U.S. may not have. That's the concern. The set pieces are the great equalizer here, though. And I think, you mentioned it, Anna, the set piece efficiency for Sweden, even in the match against the United States, came close. Nair made some nice plays, but they've scored a bunch of goals off of corners and free kicks in this tournament already, and they're going to have a size advantage there against the Japanese back line. So that's the main equalizer, and that's why I think this is a little closer to a coin flip. So I'm going to pick the upset. I'm going to take the Swedes. I'm a little biased because I bet on them before the tournament, but I'm going to go with Sweden. Let's move on to another interesting match. France is a small favorite, pretty much the same odds. Australia about 44%, plus 125, 130 to advance here. At home, Anna, the big question is Sam Kerr. Australia has been a little bit cagey. They didn't play her in the group stage. She played 11 minutes off the bench against Denmark. You played at a high level in college. The calf injury, you talked about this off air, is really nagging and can be difficult. What's the prognosis on Australia with or without Kerr against this French team?
Sam Kerr is massive. Doesn't matter what team she is on. If she can be on the field and perform to her highest potential, I think Australia or any team she's on has the upper hand. However, calf injuries are so unpredictable. I feel like they change day to day. And also if she's playing, is she playing at 80% or is she playing at 100%? And Sam Kerr is not the only one who's been efficient for this Australian side. But France, as this tournament continues to go on, and once they got the result over Brazil, they've performed very well, and they've gotten some big goals, beating Panama and Morocco. This will be the fourth time that France has made it to the quarterfinals of a World Cup, so they're comfortable in this position. And I think Australia is a good matchup for France. I feel like France hasn't really been tested outside of the Brazil game much in this World Cup against high level teams. And I feel like France is going to feel comfortable in this spot. I love Le Sommer and how efficient she's been in the World Cup in the attacking third. She does the work defensively. France is a team first side. They play so connected. I think Australia is going to struggle once France does have the ball in possession, especially if Sam Kerr can't be on the field at 100%. So here I see France continuing to build on what they've done in their last 3 or so games and getting the result in the quarterfinal.
BJ, we're big French fans here.
Mm-hmm.
Are they gonna get to the semis?
I hope so. And I think they actually will, yeah. Because if you look at what Australia has done in their matches here in the World Cup, they really weren't that impressive in the opening against Ireland. They obviously got the penalty and won 1-0. But if you look at non-penalty expected goals, that match was about even in terms of chances created. Then they obviously got beat by Nigeria. They had a really impressive performance against Canada. But then the match against Denmark, you look at the expected goals and the shots and the possession, it was all kind of even. Australia just finished their chances and Denmark didn't. So now you got to go up against a French team. Now, these two did play right before the World Cup in a friendly, and Australia beat them 1-0. But again, if you look at the expected goals, France won the expected goals battle there. They controlled more possession. They had more shots. So now you have Australia, who's very comfortable playing out of possession. They play out of a 4-4-2. They like to get the ball out in wide areas. But France has been very, very impressive. Again, they haven't really been tested. That was an incredibly dominant win against Morocco, only conceding 1 shot against them. So I think the French are going forward. The odds are in France's favor again and with Australia being at home. So it's hard for me to actually bet this match, but I do think France is going on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a French guy. Been French all tournament. Allez les Bleus. I think they make it to the semis. The first 3 quarterfinals are pretty even relatively. Like there's a small favorite, whether it's Spain, Japan, and France, and we expect them to maybe win or not. But there's a clear favorite to advance. The betting favorite to win this tournament. England is -500 to advance. Colombians, you can find them at +350. So it's about 25-ish% implied, a little bit lower, maybe closer to 20. So between 20 to 25% is what the odds makers think Colombia has to advance against this English team. England, though, they lose Lauren James, who scored 3 goals in the group stage. She gets a red card for stepping on Michelle Olozi's back for the stamp, and she's out. England, their depth has really been tested. We've talked about this over and over again. All these injuries pre-World Cup. Now they lose James, who'd been their most dynamic attacker. Does it matter against Colombia, Anna, or are they too talented overall and the system is too good that they're going to make it to another semifinal?
Yeah, England against Colombia. I see England still being able to come out on top, even without Lauren James, because like you mentioned, the depth of this English side has been tested so much throughout this tournament that everyone has kind of had opportunities to get on the pitch and show what they can do. Chloe Kelly with her PK finishing, the way that she can finish in the final third, but also assist for this English side. This Colombia team, in my opinion, is not nearly as good as this Nigerian side that England beat in PKs earlier this week. So I see England being able to collect themselves, make and shore up some different spots on the field before they play against Colombia. You mentioned Lauren James not being able to play, but they do get Kira Walsh back, and she just brings a little bit more of a calming presence to this English midfield. So I see England, it's not going to be the most comfortable win, 1-0, 2-0, but I could still see them coming out on top, learning from some mistakes that they made against Nigeria.
BJ, you texted me yesterday that you want to bet Colombia +1.
I do.
You going to bet that?
Yeah, I've already bet it. Where outside of the match against China, where's the impressive performance from England in this World Cup? Because they weren't that impressive against Haiti. They weren't impressive against Denmark. And then they really should have gone out of this World Cup. I mean, they lost the expected goals battle to Nigeria. I understand they got a red card late, but now, and obviously, and now you're coming in after playing 120 minutes and penalties, while Colombia, although it wasn't that impressive, kind of cruised to a win over Jamaica. So now they have the rest advantage. Obviously, England, is going to be without Lauren James, one of their best players. So, but again, you look at, Colombia is very interesting because if you take away the match against South Korea, they haven't created over one expected goal in any of their matches. I know they're very physical and they're a very good pressing team. And I'm interested to see how aggressive they are with that pressing against a good build-up team like England. But I think England is a little bit on upset watch here. The odds are, still kind of a little short for me to back Colombia. I would like a bigger number, but especially for the first 90 minutes line, I mean, you can get Colombia close to +1 on the spread, which I have already bet. So I think I think England's going to struggle to get margin here. I mean, they haven't gotten margin against anybody other than China in the final group stage match, and the pressure was kind of off of them because they only needed a draw to win the group. So I think Colombia's a little bit live here, especially to get this extra time.
Yeah, I think that the price has really come down. Like Nigeria +1.5, 7-1 was a misprice. Yep. This now feels more closer to right. But I certainly could see Colombia with Caicedo and Myra. Like they're going to always be dangerous to score from nothing. And so that would be the path for them, but they don't feel as complete as Nigeria. I agree with Anna on that front. So I do think England will get through. 10 seconds or less. Who wins the World Cup heading into the quarterfinal? Is your pick changed or is it the same? We'll go to BJ.
I'll pick Spain. I think they've been the best team outside of that game against Japan. And they've been probably the most impressive team now that's left in the World Cup.
So BJ has jumped ship from our French. Mm-hmm. He's now with Spain. Yeah. I am sticking with the French. I'm putting my foot down here. I know we had a couple shaky moments, conceding 3 to Panama, tying Jamaica, but the performance they put in against Morocco, what we saw against Brazil, the way they're coming together as a team, I think this French team is going to make the final at worst. And I think they're going to win it.
I agree with BJ, and I'm glad he jumped ship because Spain has overcome a lot of stuff off the field, but they've also been able to put a complete effort on the pitch as well. And the way that they've done it without some of the best players that Spain has to offer shows that they are doing this as a team collective. And most of the time when you're going to get results in any tournament, it has to be a team first. So I see Spain coming out on top as well.
All right, well, that will do it for our quarterfinal preview. Here as a part of Action Network's coverage of the FIFA Women's World Cup presented by Bet365. Thanks to BJ and Anna for joining me. We will be back for the semifinals in just a couple of days here as we get ready for the final 8 at the Women's World Cup.